It's Zanele M. I'm a qualified business analyst and the managing director for Regenerate Insurance Brokers, an authorized financial services provider. So I hope everybody's been keeping well since our last time. Today we're going to be talking everything funeral. What funeral covers are, what is the need for funeral cover, what different options do we have in the market, and why we need to have one in place. So guys, I think a lot of people have gotten confused over times over indaba zama funeral cover. Things have gotten crazy, guys. The other time, I came across a clip on an international news channel where they were rating South Africa as the 4th country in the world with the most expensive funeral ceremonies. Like, how did we get there? And I think to some extent, I'm not sure noba sizoti culture yethu, or it's us overcompensating to our loved ones once we've lost it. But either way, guys, my opinion is it's totally unnecessary. If you can really afford it, yeah, sure, please go all out. But for most people, we cannot afford it. It is not necessary. Umuntu mengasekho emhlabeni, guys, the aim is ukuthi simfihle. Kusuke sekumzimba sele now, usuke ngasekho. So now, the point to it all is umuntu as much as simthanda usuke ngasekho, but the rest of us suke sasele sisaphila. We cannot singcwabe imali sisale silambile emakhaya. That's my take on it. Love it or hate it. So now let's look at funeral covers. What is a funeral cover? A funeral cover, it's an insurance financial product where you are able to pay a monthly premium for a certain amount of cover that you require should there be a death in your family in that month. Notice I highlighted in that month. Guys, in all reality, whether you've had your funeral cover for the last 10 years or you've had your funeral cover for the last year, the only thing of note that is important, it is the waiting period. Other than that, if funeral cover policy yakho darling iyafana nje ne-DStv. DStv, if you haven't paid, you are cut off. So if funeral cover, the time that you are paying for your monthly premium, you are saying to a product supplier wako uguti, please cover me for this month should there be a death. Then you would pay me the agreed amount of cover that I have requested and that you have covered me for. That is what funeral cover in all its essence, or in definition, so as to say. Then we look at Ukutama funeral cover, our fund. Unfortunately, a lot of people who are in the industry, when they make sales, they might not dive deep enough to make you understand what kind of funeral cover you are purchasing from them. A funeral cover, for most of the product supplier companies, a funeral cover where they would pay you cash in the event of death. So that means if there should be a death and you submit a claim, most of the time, the process will go as such. You would need to submit your documentation of the death. So it will be your death certificate of the deceased. It will be the BI or the BI document that you require, plus whatever other requirements. And then from receiving the documentations that they've requested, your claim will be submitted and then you'll be paid out. But when they're paying you out, they're paying you out in cash. Versus some product suppliers will offer you funeral cover that actually offers you a funeral burial service in addition. So you find they give you the option. You are buying a funeral cover from us, you are paying a certain premium for X amounts of cover. But the time ufaka i-claim yako, you may have the option to say, give me cash, in which essence they will require the documents that the other funeral cover policies will require, the death certificates, etc., etc. Or you could select to say, I want you to conduct the actual burial service for me, ceremony. So then in that essence, you would go to them and start planning for the burial that you would want for your person or your loved one. So sometimes a lot of people purchase funeral covers and they do not have the clarity on what the funeral cover offers them or what that funeral cover in essence does. Secondly, we look at the essence of how many funeral covers does one really need. Guys, there is no need for one to have more than 2 funeral covers in the basket. I'd always say one can do with just 1 funeral cover. But yes, 2 funeral covers can also work. Bear in mind that ezimndeni asifani, so ukufihla kwethu akufani. Mina ekhaya mhlambe siyakwazi ukuthi siconducte umngcwabo sifihle for 30,000 rand. And maybe on your side, you need 50,000 rand to be able to conduct a proper burial. So that is where the difference will come. And that's where you need to be equipped and know how much you do need to be able to send off your loved ones. So then when I say maximum you need 2, in essence now we are taking into, we're looking into what I have mentioned before. The fact that akhona funeral cover and nawafani in the market. So I normally say to my clients that you need something that's gonna deal with the actual burial. That means something that will offer you a house, it will offer you amakaza, it will offer you iservice yomngcwabo and all the frills to it. And if leo mali, that the cover amount onayo naloma with that product supplier is not enough, then you can look at the option of having an additional funeral cover as a kokhelu cash to supplement your need when the day does finally come. So for example, we could look at ukuthi you have a funeral cover with a product supplier, a conductayo umngcwabo, and the cover amount that you have there is for 20,000 rand. So omunye umuntu angathi I selected ngithathe 20,000 rand with this product supplier because I know ukuthi if anything should happen to my loved one, nginento ezothatha umzimba umuntu mesethule, I have ihas ezokwazi ukuthi ngi-access ukuthi ngithathele umuntu wami, I have amakhaza. Often nakhona uthola ukuthi they would deal even with the documentation regarding the deceased. So with knowing ukuthi 20,000 rand can maybe be able to cover indaba zama burial, but now aware ukuthi ekhaya isikhathi esiningi mesifihla maybe siyahlaba. Nakhona maybe ekhaya, obviously there is the consideration in terms of transport, efanele si organize ne catering. So now with knowing that need, it will not be covered with 20,000 rand cover they have here. They may choose to have an additional funeral cover ezoba kokhelu cash, so that when somebody does pass away, you are able to make a claim here, they deal with the body, and here you are able to use that money to supplement any other needs that you as a family might need or have for the day of the burial. 2, we look into the essence of different options that you as a client have when it comes to a funeral. Now, as much as we've touched on our product suppliers, but we know it's back on no masincwabisane. And really, I always say it is completely up to the client whether you trust the product supplier more or you trust masincwabisane with conducting that funeral service for your loved ones. But I always say to my clients, if you choose to go with masincwabisane, now as a customer, there are certain responsibilities that you have to make, responsibilities that you have to make in order to ensure ukuthi cover onayo it is valid and that masincwabisane is a professional institution. So one of the things that we need to check more you are going with the masincwabisane is we need to check ukuthi masincwabisane is registered with the FSCA. So that would mean that they probably have an FSP number, and that helps in ensuring ukuthi lo masincwabisane is accountable to somebody. And 8 out of 10, there's very low chance umasingcwabisane urejistile lapho uzokukrossa msekufanele wenze claim yakho. Number 2, a new law was passed not too long ago with said that umasingcwabisane need to be underwritten. So that means ukuthi umasingcwabisane wakho needs to be underwritten by a bigger company, so that to ensure ukuthi when you do get to a day when you do submit your claim, umasingcwabisane wakho will be able to afford to carry out a burial service yakho that you are claiming for. So now, when as a ikasmende going to approach umasingcwabisane, those are 2 things that you need to be aware of. Those are 2 things that you are responsible to check into. You can even go as far as actually requiring or requesting to see the registration certificates, you have the right to be able to request to see that they are registered with the FSCA and that they are a responsible institution that will not vanish overnight with your money. You could look at that and versus against some product suppliers. Now, as much as some product suppliers, guys, a lot of us have a lot of feels around them, but at the end of the day, iqiniso lies in theni, they are much more trustworthy. You know ukuthi inkampani as much as ingabelongi kubantu bethu abamnyama, but isikhathi esiningi inkampani that have been around for decades and decades. And isikhathi esiningi it's exactly these securities that we look for. Because now if I'm paying my premiums every month, I need the surety which when that day comes, when I've lost my loved one and I'm submitting the claim, I will not be faced with problems and I will not be faced with people who will be ducking and diving to deliver the commitment that they had promised when we initially took out the cover. So, omunye umuntu sekuba kuyena ukuthi ukhetha kanjani and what works best for you. But either way, those are the two main role players in that industry. In addition, you will find ukuthi isikhathi esiningi namabhenki esibhenka kuwona, they will offer you some financial products under the funeral cover section. Isikhathi esiningi you find ukuthi they are actually underwritten as though, as much as they may not talk about it and disclose it as much, you will find it in the paperwork. But isikhathi esiningi abantu abaningi they'll know ukuthi, oh no, ngithathe funeral cover kuleli bank so and so. But not knowing that the funeral cover yalelo bank is underwritten by a product supplier. So ultimately, it all leads to the same person. But a difference ebakhona that we've noted over time is that you'll find ukuthi ama premiums akhona are normally much more affordable as opposed to when you look at some of the quotations and premiums from our product suppliers and sometimes even masincwabisane. Nasebhenki, yes, bazokhokhela ucash, they would require documentation in case of a claim, but they normally are much more affordable. So ile person ngithi, ultimately, there is no excuse for somebody to not have something in place. Yes, there's product suppliers, there's masincwabisane, but if they are over your budget, the very least you can do as an adult, as a working adult, is to ensure ukuthi at least the bank yakho eda funeral cover ka 10,000 rand, just to help out your family should something happen to you one day. Akufani kunokuthi uqala ka ungcwaba kumuntu, at least umndeni uzobe usuthasela la kushoda khona. So ngiyangithi sometimes a funeral, as soon as umuntu is an adult, you're a parent, you should have something in place. It is important that you have something in place. And then you can adjust it depending on ukuthi ekhaya nifihla kanjani.